He woke before sunrise, the pale light touching his window as if to remind him of days gone by. A cool breeze drifted through the room, carrying the faint scent of pine from the forest beyond. He sat on the edge of his bed, heart heavy with a quiet ache. His friend had moved far away, to a land of endless desert and golden sun, and each morning now felt incomplete without her laughter echoing in the halls. He dressed slowly and stepped outside, the dewy grass cool beneath his feet. He carried a small notebook, its pages filled with sketches and scribbled notes, memories of shared adventures. He flicked through the pages, her smile as they built a treehouse. The time they raced paper boats down the creek, the way she pressed flowers between the pages of his journals. He traced each drawing with his finger, wishing he could bring those moments back to life. He walked to the old oak tree where they used to meet. Its trunk was broad and gnarled, branches stretching like welcoming arms. He sat beneath it and opened his phone, staring at her last message. "I miss you too. Stay in touch." But days had passed, and the glow of her response had faded into silence. He tapped the screen, his finger hovering over the call button. He wanted to hear her voice, to bridge the distance with a simple chat. Yet each time he tried, his courage faltered. What if she was too busy? What if she thought he didn't care? He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He remembered how she always believed in him, how she cheered when he built his first model ship, how she encouraged him to stand tall when he doubted himself. Humanity's best traits, hope, resilience, the power to lift one another, had shone brightest in their friendship. He realized that he could not let fear stand in the way of reaching out. That was the spirit he admired in every human heart, the bravery to try again and again. He stood and brushed off his jeans. In his pocket lay a small stone he had found on the beach near her new home, smooth and warm from the sun. He held it now and let his mind wander to her desert town. He pictured her stepping out at dawn, feeling the hard sand beneath her boots, wondering if he still thought of her. He wanted her to know that, no matter how far apart they stood, their bond remained unbroken. He walked back inside and sat at his desk. His fingers hovered over the keyboard as he opened a blank email. He stared at the cursor blinking on the screen. Then he began to type. "Hey, I was thinking of you this morning under our old oak tree. You remember how the breeze carried the sound of laughter? I miss you more than words can say. How are you settling in? I found this stone on the beach, thought. You might like to keep a piece of home with you." His words flowed, honest and open, carrying the warmth of his heart across the miles. He paused before sending, reading his message aloud to himself. It sounded just like him, hopeful, a little nervous, but determined. He hit send and leaned back in his chair, relief washing through him. He knew the next reply might take time, but he felt stronger already. He had taken the first step, affirming that distance could never diminish human courage or the ties that bind. Later that afternoon, a new message arrived. Her words filled his screen. "I love that stone. It's perfect. I've missed our oak tree mornings so much. Life here is different, but I'm finding my way. Let's video call this weekend." His chest swelled with joy. A smile broke across his face, and he leaned back, closing his eyes to soak in the moment. Their friendship had survived the miles, and with each brave step, they would weave new memories, proving that no distance could silence the human spirit. He woke before the sun rose, the sky still a deep blue. He sat on the edge of his bed, fingers drumming on the wooden frame. His thoughts drifted to her. She had moved away 2 months ago, to a place he had never seen. Every morning without her smile felt empty. He missed the way her laughter filled the air, the way she encouraged him when he felt small. Each quiet moment felt louder, filled with what he could not hear. He got dressed slowly, choosing the clothes they used to wear on their adventures. Today he decided he would try something new. He picked up his old camera and slipped it into his bag. It felt heavy, a reminder of shared memories, pictures they took by the river, portraits of each other framed with wildflowers. He had not taken photos since she left. He felt a small tug of hope stir inside him. Maybe this was his way to reach out. He walked through the empty streets of his town. The shops stood closed in the early hour, and a soft wind rustled the branches of maples lining the sidewalks. He found himself humming a tune they used to sing, the one she taught him on their last day together. The song felt strange on his lips, both comforting and sad. He paused under a street lamp and raised his camera, snapping a photo of the lamp's soft glow against the blue sky. The click echoed in the silence, and he felt a spark of courage. He remembered her words when she left. "Promise me you will keep creating, no matter where I am." At first, he had promised without fully understanding. Now he felt the promise like a gentle hand on his shoulder. He took another photo this time of a puddle reflecting the sky. The image wavered and shimmered, like memory sometimes did. He tucked the camera back into his bag and kept walking, his heart lighter than it had been all week. He reached the small park where they used to meet. A fountain stood at its center, water dancing in the rising light. He sat on a worn bench and pulled out his phone. He stared at the blank message screen for several minutes. He had drafted texts before, but each time he erased them. He worried she might be too busy, or that his words would sound forced. He imagined her smiling face, and thought of all the times she told him honesty was the strongest bridge between friends. With a deep breath, he tapped out a message. "Good morning. I went for a walk and took a few photos. Miss you and hope you are well. Would you like to see them?" He stared at the words, reread them, and pressed send. His heart pounded, but he felt a warmth spread through his chest. He had reached out, and that act alone carried hope. He waited. The fountain water splashed softly. He watched sparrows flit across the lawn, searching for crumbs. He realized that this moment waiting was its own act of courage. It reminded him of humanity's capacity to take small steps forward, even when the outcome was uncertain. He closed his eyes and imagined her reply. In his mind, he saw her reading his message, her finger hovering over the screen before she typed back. After what felt like hours, his phone buzzed. He opened the message and saw her words. "I'd love to see them. Your photos always made me smile." His breath caught. He tapped his gallery app and selected 3 pictures. The street lamp glowing in dawn, the puddle mirror of sky, and a single flower blooming through a crack in the sidewalk. He hit send, then sat back to wait again. Sunlight filtered through the trees, painting golden patterns on the grass. He felt a gentle joy in his chest. He thought about how humans could find beauty in small things, could reach out across miles with a few words and images. He smiled, remembering her bright encouragement. He stood and stretched, breathing deeply. A moment later, another message arrived with her photos. A desert rose against orange sand, a painted door in a winding alley, and footprints on a quiet beach. She wrote, "I wish you were here to see this sunset with me." He felt a tug in his heart, but then a surge of determination. He typed back, "Someday soon. Until then, we share through our eyes." He pressed send. He walked home with lighter steps. Inside, he placed the camera on his desk and opened his notebook. On a blank page, he began to sketch the flower he photographed, then the fountain's curve. As his pen moved, he felt connected again. Distance had not erased their bond. In each line and message, he found proof of human strength, the power to hope, to reach out, to bridge the gap between hearts. He paused and looked at the sky through his window. Clouds drifted across the blue, changing shape like his own feelings had changed from ache to courage. He whispered to himself, "We will find our way back." And in that promise, he felt the truth of humanity's finest quality. Even when separated, people could choose hope and connection. That choice, he realized, was itself a light shining through any darkness. He woke before dawn again. The sky was pale gray, and the world felt quiet and still. In his small kitchen, he poured himself a cup of tea. He wrapped his hands around the warm mug, letting its heat chase away the chill in his bones. He thought of her far away in that bright city by the coast. He missed her more than words could say. After a sip, he set the mug down and stared out the window. A single crow landed on the fence, cocked its head, and cawed once. He imagined it as a messenger if only he could send his thoughts that easily to her. He sighed and reached for his notebook. On the cover, he had written her name in neat letters. Inside, he kept little notes and sketches, a a flower they both had liked. The street where they laughed until their sides ached. The map of the trail they hiked under a golden sun. He flipped through the pages and stopped at a blank sheet. He would write a letter. He had tried emails and text messages, but they felt too cold, too quick. A letter on paper would carry more of his heart. He found his favorite pen and began, "Dear Hannah, this morning I watched the sunrise alone, and I thought of you. I remember how we used to sit on the porch and share our dreams with the dawn. I miss your voice, your smile, your faith in me. I hope you are well in your new life by the sea." He paused and pressed the pen to his lips. He thought of what to say next. He wanted to tell her that even though she was far, she was never far from his thoughts. He wanted to thank her for the kindness she showed him, for believing he could do more than he believed himself. He wanted her to know that he carried her hope with him every day. He continued writing, his hand moving smoothly across the paper. He recounted small stories to make her laugh. The time he tried to bake bread and ended up with something that looked like a rock. The squirrel that stole his sandwich while he sketched in the park. He shared how he had started learning a new song on the guitar, the one she taught him last summer. He promised to play it for her if she came home, or to play it on the phone if she preferred. When he finished, he read the letter aloud. His voice cracked at one point, but he did not stop. He wanted the words to carry his full feeling. He signed it with care. "Yours always, Amir." He folded the paper and placed it in an envelope. He searched his desk drawer and found a small pressed flower he had kept since they first met. He slipped it into the envelope before sealing it, pressed it gently down with his thumb, imagining her surprise when she found it. He dressed warmly and walked to the post office. The street was empty, lit by the yellow glow of old lamps. He held the letter close, as if its warmth would help guide him. At the counter, he handed it to the clerk and paid for delivery. The clerk smiled at him and said, "Who's it for?" He only nodded and left, the letter now on its way to her. On his walk home, he felt lighter. The weight of silence, that heavy stone in his chest, had lifted somewhat. He knew the letter would take days to arrive, and then more days for her reply. But sending it was a step forward, the first tangible step across the distance that separated them. That afternoon, he decided to record a message. He set up his phone and pressed record. He spoke softly at first, then more confidently. "Hi. Hannah, it's me. I just sent you a letter, so I won't read it all here. But I wanted you to see my face and hear my voice. I miss you. Hope this finds you smiling." He played the song he had learned, fingering the chords with care. His voice was unsteady, but he sang with hope. When he finished, he stopped the recording and sent the video clip to her. He knew it would arrive after the letter, but he wanted to let her hear him each way possible. Evening fell, and the sky turned pink behind the rooftops. He sat by his window with his guitar in his lap. He practiced the song once more, letting each note ring out into the quiet room. As he played, he thought of humanity's best qualities: courage, hope, the desire to connect. He had felt lost without her, but he remembered that humans could build bridges with small acts, a letter, a song, a simple message. He set the guitar aside and lit a candle on his desk. The flame danced and flickered, a tiny beacon in the dusk. He opened his notebook again and sketched the flower he had pressed. Into the letter, he drew it large, letting each petal take shape under his pencil. He wanted to capture its memory, to give it strength on the page. He finished the drawing and whispered to the empty room, "We will find each other again." He believed it with all his heart. He believed that hope could travel across oceans and deserts, that a friend's faith could survive distance. Closed his notebook, extinguished the candle, and lay down to sleep. As he drifted off, he dreamed of her voice calling his name. He felt her hand find his, warm and real. He smiled in the dark, certain that tomorrow he would wake and write another letter, sing another song, an inch closer to her. In that quiet certainty, he felt the true power of being human, to hope, to reach out, and to believe in reunion. He woke early, long before the sky turned pale. He lay in bed listening to the quiet hum of his house. His heart felt heavy. She was far away now, living in a city beside the sea. Every morning without her voice felt colder, lonelier, sat up and stared at the ceiling. He wished he could reach through the distance and take her hand. He rose and went to the window. Stars still dotted the dark sky. He remembered how they used to lie on the grass together at night, pointing out constellations and inventing stories for each one. She had a wild imagination, and he loved how her eyes sparkled when she spoke of distant worlds. Mr. Laughter, the way it carried on the wind and warmed his heart. He dressed quickly, pulled on his coat, and stepped outside. The air was crisp, and each breath felt sharp in his lungs. He carried a small satchel that held paper, pens, and a ruler. He walked to the hill above the town, a quiet spot, where the grass grew tall and the wind whispered through the blades. He dropped the satchel on the ground and knelt, drawing a rough circle on a large sheet of paper. He decided to make a star map for her. She could not lie here under the night sky with him. He would send her a piece of it. He sketched the circle carefully, then marked the brightest star he could see. He labeled it Alpha. He worked methodically, naming the next brightest Beta, and so on. He filled the page with dots and lines, connecting them to form constellations he made up: the soaring falcon, the hidden key, the guiding hand. As he drew, he thought of how humans could find patterns even in chaos, how they could bring meaning to the emptiest skies. That was the spirit he admired in their friendship, the human need to hope and to create. Even when the world felt dark and distant, people could light their own way. When his map was nearly complete, the sun began to rise. The stars faded, but he kept working until the last line was drawn. He wrote a small note at the edge of the page. "For Hannah So, you always know our sky is the same sky." He folded the map carefully and placed it in the satchel. He stood and looked back at the town below. Lights twinkled in the windows. He felt a surge of determination. He would send this map to her, hoping it would draw her back into his world. He walked home with steady steps, the satchel warm against his side. At home he found a long, narrow box, one he had saved for something special. He placed the rolled map inside and added a small flashlight. He thought she could unroll the map in the dark and shine the light through the paper, making the stars glow on her walls. It would be like lying here under the open sky together. He addressed the box and carried it to the post office. He placed it on the counter and paid for express delivery. The clerk asked, "What is it?" He only smiled and said, "A piece of our sky." The clerk nodded, intrigued, and sealed the box. He left, heart beating with hope. That afternoon he visited the library. He borrowed a book on astronomy, simple, well-illustrated pages that explained constellations around the world. He thought she would like to mark her favorite ones with him. He checked the book out and carried it home. At his desk he wrote another letter. "Dear Hannah, I want you to know that when you look up at night, you share the same sky I see. I made this star map so you can remember our nights together. I marked new constellations. One holds a memory of us. I also sent you a book on real stars, so we can learn them side by side. I miss you every day, but I believe our bond is stronger than the miles between us. Yours in hope." Amir, he folded the letter and placed it on top of the book. A photo of the package to her. The box labeled Our Sky, the map's rolled tip peeking out. He typed beneath it, "Check your door tomorrow. A night sky awaits." Evening came, and he sat by his window with the astronomy book open on his lap. Outside, the first stars appeared. He traced the constellations with his finger, imagining her doing the same. He spoke their names softly: Orion, Cassiopeia, the hidden key, the guiding hand. He felt a quiet joy in naming them together. His phone buzzed. A message from her. "I see it. Can't wait to explore our sky with you." His chest warmed. He closed the book and looked out. The sky stretched wide above him, full of possibilities. He felt the distance lessen, as if the stars themselves were pulling them closer. He whispered to the night, "We share this sky always." In that promise, he found peace. He knew that even miles apart, hope and human ingenuity could build bridges. And as long as he believed, they would find their way back to each other under the same silent stars. He woke to the soft chime of his phone. A message from Hannah glowed on the screen. "The stars are bright tonight. I can't wait to use your map. His heart lifted, but a small worry tugged at him. She was many time zones away, and their schedules. RARELY matched. He loved her excitement, but he wished they could share the moment in real time. He rubbed his eyes and sat up, determined to find a way. He moved to his desk and opened his laptop, scrolled through video chat options, testing connections, and adjusting his camera. He set a lamp behind his screen so his face would shine in soft light. He loaded the star map image onto his desktop and arranged it beside the video window. He hoped Hannah would see his preparation, proof that he cared deeply. He sent a quick note, "Let me know when you are free. I want to show you something." Then he waited. Outside his window, the afternoon sun warmed the grass. He took the moment to practice the song he had learned for her, strumming gently on his guitar. Each chord carried memory of her laughter. When he finished, he packed the guitar away, focusing again on the screen. An hour later, his phone buzzed. "I'm ready." He clicked the link and saw her smiling face. She waved, and he felt a wave of relief wash through him. "Hi," he said softly. "I have our sky here." He turned slightly to show the rolled map on his wall. Hannah leaned forward, her eyes bright. "It looks beautiful," she said. He beamed, grateful that distance could not mute her joy. He shared his screen and opened the star map file. He guided her through each constellation, pointing with his cursor. "This is the guiding hand," he explained. "We named it for how you helped me when I lost hope." She gasped softly. "It means so much," she whispered. He felt warmth in his chest, hope becoming reality. Had bridged the miles with simple lines on paper and shared purpose. They talked as he traced. New constellations together, inventing stories for each one. He listened as Hannah described the real night sky by her seaside apartment. She showed him a window that framed the horizon, where ships' lights blinked in the distance. He felt a pang of longing but also pride. Humans could share dreams even. When oceans lay between them, after their stargazing session, they lingered on video chat, sharing small daily details: the book he was reading, the sea breeze she felt on her balcony. He asked about her work and listened to her hopes for the future. She asked about his sketching and promised to teach him a new painting technique. In those moments, the gap between them felt to shrink, filled by conversation and care. When the call ended, Amir closed his laptop with a gentle click. Sat in the dim room, the map's glow from the screen still warm on his face. He realized that hope was not a single act, but many small steps taken together. He picked up his guitar and played the song again, this time humming quietly along. He knew there would be more moments of distance and more challenges, but he also knew humans never gave up trying. That night, he placed the guitar beside his bed and unrolled the star map on his desk. He lit a small candle and watched how the paper caught the flame's light. In the flicker, the constellations seemed to come alive. He whispered to the empty room, "Until next time, my friend." Then he switched off the candle, climbed into bed, and drifted to sleep with a hopeful smile, certain that tomorrow he would wake and take another step toward her, proving again that human hope and connection could burn brighter than any distance. The morning was quiet. Amir sat by his window, watching soft rain fall on the garden. Drops tapped the glass gently, making a soft rhythm like a calm heartbeat. He held a warm mug of tea in his hands, but his thoughts were far away, far across the sea, where Hannah now lived. It had been days since they last talked. Her last message was short. "Work is getting busy. I'll write soon." He understood. Had a new life, new people around her, a new world to explore. But still, he missed her deeply. The silence felt heavier than before. He stared at his phone, thinking of sending her a message, but the words wouldn't come. He didn't want to bother her. He didn't want to sound needy. So he placed the phone down and sighed. His eyes moved to the shelf by his bed. On it sat the sketchbook where he had drawn their favorite places. He opened it slowly, flipping through pages filled with parks, stars, and silly little doodles of the two of them laughing. Each page was a piece of their story. Then an idea came to him. He would make something, not just a message, not just a photo, but something new that she could touch and hold. something that would say what his words could not. He pulled out paper, scissors, glue, and a thin box from his drawer. He began cutting small shapes, trees, stars, mountains, even a little sun. He folded the paper carefully, giving each piece life. Slowly, he built a pop-up card. On the front, he drew a path winding through tall trees. Inside, he created a 3D forest with a tiny paper figure standing at the edge, holding a small glowing star. At the bottom, he wrote, "Even when we're far, we walk under the same light." He held it up and smiled. It wasn't perfect. Ow. Folds were uneven, and the glue smudged in one corner, but it was honest. It was full of care. He placed the card in an envelope, added a few pressed flowers from the garden, and sealed it. At the post office, he handed it over with both hands. "To Hannah," he whispered. The worker nodded and stamped it gently. As Amir walked home, the rain stopped, and pale sunlight peeked through the clouds. It felt lighter, like he had let go of some of the sadness. The next few days passed slowly. He kept himself busy reading, walking, sketching, but the feeling of distance stayed. Each night, he looked at the stars and whispered her name. Each morning, he checked his messages with quiet hope. Then one evening, his phone buzzed. It was a photo. The card he had made was open on her windowsill, sunlight pouring through the paper trees. Underneath, her message read, "I cried when I opened this. Thank you. I needed it more than you know." His chest ached, but this time, with joy, she hadn't forgotten him. She still cared. He read the message again and again, smiling softly. She followed up with a voice message, "Amir, I've been overwhelmed with new things, work, people, everything, but your card. Oh. It reminded me of who I am, of us. Thank you for not giving up. Let's talk soon. Really talk." Tears welled up in his eyes, but they didn't fall. Whispered to the night, "I'll wait as long as it takes." That night, he went outside and looked up at the stars. The sky was clear and endless. He thought about how humans, no matter how far apart, always found ways to reconnect. They built ships across oceans, wires beneath the sea, bridges of hope, made from letters, songs, and little handmade cards. He realized then that hope wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was quiet and small. It lived in folded paper, in a single sentence, in waiting without anger. And that hope that human strength was what kept them close, even while miles apart. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with cool night air, and whispered to the sky, "We're not so far after all." And for the first time in days, he slept peacefully, knowing that distance could not dim a bond built on care, patience, and the unbreakable light of human connection. The sky was full of stars again. Amir sat on the roof of his house, legs crossed, a light blanket over his shoulders. Cool air touched his face, and a soft wind moved through the trees below. It had been almost 4 months since Hannah moved away. Some days they talked. Some days they didn't. But the silence no longer felt as heavy. It felt more like a pause, not a goodbye. Still, he missed her deeply. He missed the way her presence brought light to everything. He missed the way they used to talk for hours, about stars, about music, about life. He looked up at the sky and wondered what she was doing at that very moment. Was she happy? Was she thinking of him too? He reached into his bag and pulled out his notebook. It was full now, every page covered in words, sketches, thoughts, and moments. He flipped to the last page, blank, waiting. He pressed his pencil to the page and began to write. "Dear Hannah, tonight I'm on the roof under our SES stars. I remember how we once promised that no matter where we go, we'll still look at the same sky. It's funny how a simple promise like that can feel so strong. Even now I feel you close when I look up. I've missed you. But more than that, I've grown." He stopped and thought. It was true, the sadness had taught him something. He had learned to wait with patience, to speak with honesty, and to show love in small ways through letters, art, music, and kindness. That, he believed, was the human way. People didn't always have the answers, but they kept trying, again and again. They reached out, they hoped, and they never stopped caring. He looked at his phone and opened the voice recording app. He pressed record and spoke gently. "Hi, Hannah. I'm on the roof again. The stars are bright and I wanted to share this moment with you. I wrote you something. It's the last page of our notebook." He paused, then read his letter aloud. His voice cracked near the end, but he kept going. When he finished, he smiled and added, "I hope this reaches you the way you always reached me with light." He sent the voice message and placed the notebook beside him. Then he picked up his guitar. His fingers found the strings naturally now. He played the song they loved. This time he sang it with no fear. His voice was soft, full of care, full of hope. The words floated up into the night, carried by wind and heart. The next day the reply came. Photo. Hannah sitting on a rock by the ocean, the same notebook in her hands. A message followed. "I listened to your voice by the sea. I cried, but I smiled more. You gave me the courage I didn't know I still had." Then another message. "I'm coming to visit our sky. I miss us." Amir couldn't move for a moment. His heart beat loud in his chest. He read the words over and over. Then he laughed, softly, joyfully. A laugh full of relief and wonder. A week later, he waited at the train station. The platform was quiet, the sun just beginning to rise. When the train pulled in, he stood tall, eyes scanning the crowd. And there she was. Hannah stepped down, backpack slung over her shoulder, a shy smile on her face. They stared at each other for a moment. Then she ran to him, and he met her halfway. No words were needed at first. The hug said everything. After a while, she whispered, "You kept the stars waiting." He smiled and replied, "They never left." That evening, they sat on the roof again, side by side. No screen, no messages, just them, under the wide sky. They talked, they laughed. They were quiet, too, but it was the kind of quiet filled with peace, not distance. Hannah reached into her bag and pulled out a new notebook. She handed it to Amir. On the cover, she had written, "For our next chapter." He opened it to the first page, blank, waiting. He looked at her and said, "Let's fill it together." And in that moment under the stars, Amir understood something true. Even when people drift apart, they can always find their way back with courage, kindness, and the hope that lives in every human heart.